This robot lawnmower is incredibly quiet, doesn't need a magnetic wire buried in the ground, can work at night or during the rain, can cut as low as 1.2 inches or as high as 4 inches depending on the model that you get, and you can cut whatever angle you want in your yard. You manually drive the Luba 2 all-wheel drive around what you do want it to cut, what you don't want it to cut, areas you want it to traverse, and that's it. You're done. Now let me start by saying I'm just a regular guy into DIY. I'm a weekend warrior. I'm not a lawn professional by any means. I'm not even like a lawn-specific YouTube channel. But when Luba reached out and said, hey, we've got this robotic lawnmower I want you to try, I could not say no. I was like, this is like living in the year 3000. I've always wanted either a remote control or robot lawnmower, so of course I had to try it. And with that said, they did send me this lawnmower free of charge, so I would just want you to know that up front, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I'll try to give you as unbiased an opinion as I possibly can. Once I familiarized myself with everything, it was very easy to get up and running. Took me about 30 minutes the first time to get everything mapped, everything set up, and to be off and mowing. So it was very easy. Also, anytime I thought I ran into an issue, either restarting the app or restarting the lawnmower solved it 100% of the time. The mower uses GPS and has an RTK that you need to position somewhere in your yard. I was kind of worried about that in the beginning, thinking that it always had to be in line of sight, which turned out to not be true. So I mounted that RTK mast in one position. The robot lawnmower was able to cut the backyard no problem and go all the way to the front and cut the front. The only issue for me is that I have to manually open and close my gate so that the lawnmower can go from the backyard to the front yard, but that is not a big deal by any means. If you're liking this video so far or find it useful at all, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up because the algorithm absolutely loves it. My RTK is just stuck in the ground in my backyard. I plan to move it. They make a house mount. I'd like to just mount it somewhere to my house so that it's permanently there. It's not gonna get run into or knocked over, because if you move the RTK, you have to remap. You can move the base station where this robot goes to recharge and where it lives most of the time. You can move that and tell the app to update that location, but the RTK cannot be moved without remapping, at least currently the way the software is. Maybe they'll change that in the future. If you're somebody who has a massive yard, they do have models that can go all the way up to 2.5 acres of cutting size. So it'll die, it'll go back to its base to charge, and it'll just keep going until it gets all the way through those 2.5 acres. Now let's talk about the mowing performance, which obviously is gonna be probably the most important thing. I have St. Aug grass, which I consider to be very thick. I'm not a lawn pro, there's probably thicker grass out there, but I consider this to be very thick. I've had friends get battery-powered push mowers that struggled with St. Aug and they ended up returning them. And I think the reason that the Luba 2 all-wheel drive doesn't struggle with it is that it's not mulching. Now don't automatically think that is a bad thing at first. The Luba 2 all-wheel drive, it just cuts the grass and then leaves it behind. So you might be thinking, oh, that's a bad deal if I want to mulch. Well, really only for your first cut if the grass is very long. I've been running this robotic lawnmower multiple times a week and you can't even see the clippings at all. So I would say if you're worried about mulching or having long grass left behind, which I'm not at all, then just run it more often. The mower has 2 discs that have 4 little blades each, and they do a great job. It's got 4 wheels and it's all-wheel drive, so each wheel will actually be turning to move it forward. The front 2 wheels actually do not turn side to side for it to maneuver. The way that the wheels work is that they have rollers on them, so the thing can actually pivot, and it's very effective at this. You can set it in the app to do 3-point turns or to just pivot. So depending on your lawn, if it's a softer lawn versus not, or maybe if it's rained recently, you may not want it to pivot. It might tear up the grass a little bit. I just have mine set to 3-point turn, slows it down just a little bit, but it does a great job. I've been very impressed with the strength of the motors on the wheels as well as the discs. This thing really hasn't gotten bogged down at all and has done a wonderful job so far. Some other things that I've been very impressed with this robot lawnmower with is its maneuverability. It always just seems in control. It doesn't just kind of slide around or lose its footing or anything. It does a phenomenal job. Also, with inclines, it does a great job. It can handle very steep inclines. I'll put it on the screen right here below to show you the exact grade that it can handle. But I brought it to someone else's yard to try it in these kind of like steep hills going down and going up. and it doesn't like speed up or slow down when it's maneuvering. It just continues its same speed, very in control when it's going down an incline or up an incline. I was very impressed with how it can maneuver in those circumstances. I've really been so impressed with every aspect of this thing so far. Initially, the first time I ran this thing, I had to do a checkerboard pattern, which does take a longer amount of time. And then as we moved forward, I ended up running it 2 times a week. One time I just have it go in this perpendicular pattern. The other one, I actually have it do a 45-degree pattern so that as it's moving, it kind of doesn't really miss any grass or any spots. And it keeps the lawn looking great throughout the week. But like anything else, I'm gonna need much more long-term testing, get a good solid year of using this thing in every season to see how it truly performs. But so far, I can say it's exceeded all of my expectations. If you're interested in the Mammotion Luba 2 all-wheel drive, I'll have a link in the description that you can follow. I'll also put it in a comment below. They do make 2 different models. One gets lower than the other model, so they have a model that has an H on the end. It's for higher. I have the one with the H, so I can cut as low as 2.2 inches or as high as 4 inches, and it does a great job. The app has all kinds of features that you can set as far as blade height, the speed that the thing travels, how many perimeter laps it does, the no-go zones, all kinds of things that you can customize in the app, as well as schedules of when you want it to run, when you don't want it to run. And what I have found very interestingly is that the thing that kills the battery the most is the spinning of the discs. So if you want to get a longer run time or more area mowed in one battery charge, what you'll do is just speed the mower up. So it might miss more blades of grass that way, but it'll cut the most area in one battery charge the faster that it goes. But like pretty much all robot vacuums these days, this mower is no exception. When it gets low on battery, it's gonna head back to its base, it's gonna charge up all the way, and it's gonna continue right where it left off until it finishes mowing all of the areas. So I initially started out and said, man, this would be great because it's so quiet. Why don't I cut at night or the very early morning? So I had it start at like 4 a.m. and that was great. You can't hear it at all, but I have dogs who the night before sometimes would bring toys outside and I wouldn't remember to clean up the yard. And so we had a few plush toys that actually bit the dust getting mowed over very early in the morning, and it did clog up the discs and the blades, so I did have to clean it. So I stopped doing that and run it at a time now where I check the yard first for dog toys and then I have it run. Well, when it's not clogged up with the inside of that plush toy, the cleaning also is very easy. You can just turn it over on its side, clean the bottom. It can run in the rain, but I actually found that actually got it pretty dirty because wet grass kind of hardened and stuck underneath. So you can set in the app if you want it to be able to run in the rain or not in the rain. So I now check that off to say, hey, don't run in the rain, just run when it's nice and dry. That way it doesn't get as dirty with that wet grass underneath. Another thing that's great about the scheduling is that you can say, hey, I want you to cut these areas and also in this particular order and these types of patterns. So it's very customizable, and so far the app has been phenomenal. It does have 3 levels of obstacle avoidance, which you're definitely gonna wanna know about because you're setting up a robot lawnmower to run unattended in your yard. So it has a bumper on the front if all else fails and it bumps into something, that'll stop the blades immediately. It will back up and then try to go around it. But its obstacle avoidance levels are 0, where it doesn't do anything, it just runs into something. Then it has level 1, where it'll slow down before it hits something, and then it'll tap it and then go around it. And then the 3rd level of obstacle avoidance, which is really just level 2, is that it'll proactively go around things when it senses that they're there. Generally, it's done a very good job at this. If all else fails, it has a big stop button on the top that you can press, and that'll stop it as well. And you might be wondering, what are those eye-looking things on top? And those are actually cameras. And what it's using that for is its vision if it doesn't have the RTK. So the first few times that it runs on the RTK, it's gonna kind of learn about the yard and whatnot using those cameras. And then you can actually unplug the RTK and it will still be able to cut even without the RTK, which is pretty neat. If you are ever curious what your robot lawnmower is looking at while it's mowing, you can open up a live view from the app so you can see what this thing is mowing as it mows from the little cameras on top. As I've said, so far, I'm incredibly impressed with this robot lawnmower, but this is by no means a long-term review. This is more of a first look. Even though I've had it for over 8 weeks at this point, I really need to test it in the thick of the summer where this grass is just growing very fast and is looking shaggy after 2 or 3 days. So stick around because I'm gonna be doing some updating shorts as we go. I hope this video was helpful for you if you're in the market for a robot lawnmower like this, or maybe you just thought it was entertaining. Thank you so much for watching Break It Yourself. As always, don't forget to thumbs me up, and we will see you next time.